Continue to follow recovery efforts in Texas after devastating flash floods. Tonight, we're hearing from a Roanoke native who now lives in Texas and is doing everything he can to help. Our Layla Mitchell is joining us in studio tonight. Layla, you also caught up with members of Virginia Task Force 4 who've been assisting in the search for those victims.
That's right, Chloe. Task Force 4 has been in Texas since July 8th, helping with search and recovery efforts, and they've worked closely with other first responders and volunteers, many of whom have no background in rescue, but jumped in to help any way they could. Tonight, you'll hear from one of them who grew up in the Roanoke area, but now lives in Austin. He tells me he didn't feel like he had a choice but to show up. Parts of southern Texas are unrecognizable after severe flooding washed out homes and communities, turning what was supposed to be a celebratory 4th of July into devastation. Weeks later, families are still searching for closure. For Roanoke native Tripp Eisen, that devastation hit too close to home.
It just felt to me like the right thing to do. I didn't really feel like I had a choice, so I just grabbed my chainsaw and my boots and my rigging and hit the road.
Not knowing where to begin, he said a prayer, and that's when the direction came.
I grabbed my saw and my rigging, and I started walking down the road, and I think I made it like 100 feet. And this old man yelled out, and he's like, "Hey, you know how to run that saw?" And I said, "Yes, sir." And he's like, "Good, come on." And we were there the next 5 days at that spot.
Tripp and a crew of volunteers began hand sawing, clearing debris, and searching for victims, first hoping to save lives, then working to recover remains. They worked with trained search and rescue teams like the Virginia Task Force 4 to cover ground.
They use their skill sets, what they're good at, their dogs, their awareness, their different tactics. And then we kind of used our skill set, which was, strictly to equipment operation and that sort of thing. So
a team come through and do primary searches in the area, and then we went back through and did a secondary search, and just like we did a primary search on one area, a different group of team would come through and do a secondary search, kind of just to get a different set of eyes and make sure that nothing really gets missed.
Despite the grim reality, Tripp says what stood out most was the kindness and unity.
There were people from India that were bringing curry for us to eat. There were people from Mexico bringing breakfast tacos. There were people from North Texas, from Dallas, that came down and they were running smokers and bringing brisket all day. It was whatever anyone could do to help out. Like, you didn't have to be able to run equipment or run a saw or have a dog for searching. Everyone had a role and everyone just played their part and everyone just worked.
And Tripp remains in those devastated areas in Texas helping with recovery. And as for Virginia Task Force 4, they began the 21-hour drive home to Bristol this morning, but they are not done yet. Teams from Roanoke and Lynchburg are on standby for potential flooding here in Virginia. You can, of course, keep up with both the forecast and storm response right here at WDVJ 7.
Important work they're doing. Layla, thank you.